California is the most populated state in the country. Nearly 40 million people live there. Sunny beaches, Hollywood, Silicon Valley, wine country. You have seen the postcards. But there are cities in California right now where something as ordinary as running to the grocery store has become a calculated risk. Locals will tell you flat out, do not stop. Do not park your car in that lot. Do not go inside after dark. And whatever you do, do not leave anything visible on your seat. These are 10 California cities so out of control that the people who actually live there advise you never to stop for groceries. By the time we get to number 1, you will understand why some of the biggest restaurant and retail chains in America packed up and left for good. Number 10, Bakersfield. Sitting at the southern end of the San Joaquin Valley, Bakersfield has always had a rough edge. Oil fields, agriculture, and long stretches of flat highway in every direction. But what most people outside California don't realize is that Bakersfield's crime problem has been escalating for years. The city's violent crime rate sits well above the national average, and Kern County as a whole has become one of the state's most active corridors for gang-related violence. Property crime is concentrated around the commercial strips where grocery stores, pharmacies, and big box retailers cluster together. Smash and grab robberies in parking lots became so frequent that some stores started hiring private security just to patrol the spaces between the front door and the asphalt. Kern County saw violent crime decline about 17% in 2024, one of the bigger drops among large California counties. But even with that improvement, the numbers still run far above most of the state. When the California Highway Patrol launched regional crime suppression operations, Bakersfield was one of only 3 cities specifically named alongside Oakland and San Bernardino. For a city most people think of as a quiet farming town, that's a wake-up call. Number 9, Modesto. Modesto sits in the heart of the Central Valley, about 90 miles east of San Francisco. If the name sounds familiar, there is a reason. This is the city where Scott Peterson murdered his pregnant wife, Lassie, on Christmas Eve, a case that put Modesto on the national map for all the wrong reasons. But the crime in Modesto did not start or stop with one case. The city's overall crime rate runs more than double the national average. Your odds of becoming a victim of some kind of crime while living in Modesto are roughly 1 in 18. Retail theft has been hammering Central Valley businesses, and Modesto has not followed the statewide downward trend in property crime. While California as a whole saw property crime drop to its lowest level in 3 decades, Modesto kept climbing. Grocery stores in certain neighborhoods have added locked cases for everyday items like laundry detergent and baby formula, turning a simple shopping trip into something that feels more like visiting a pharmacy counter. And that slow bleed of convenience is exactly what pushes residents to drive 30 to 40 minutes to shop somewhere they feel safe. Number 8, Vallejo. Vallejo sits on the northeastern shore of San Pablo Bay, right where the water meets the East Bay sprawl. The city went through a devastating municipal bankruptcy in 2008 and never fully recovered. When a city goes broke, police staffing is one of the first things to suffer. And when police staffing drops, criminals notice. Parking lot crime became Vallejo's signature problem. Carjacking, smash and grab thefts, and armed robberies in broad daylight outside grocery stores and strip malls. Residents started sharing warnings on neighborhood apps, telling each other which lots to avoid and what times of day were safest to shop. That's the reality. People coordinating grocery runs like supply missions. The population has been slowly declining as families move to more affordable and safer communities further inland. The ones who stay describe a city where you learn to keep your head on a swivel every time you walk from your car to the front door of a store. Fresno is the 5th largest city in California and the economic hub of the agricultural Central Valley. It is also home to some of the most severe food desert conditions in the state. In South Fresno, entire neighborhoods sit miles away from the nearest grocery store that is not a liquor store or a gas station convenience mart. When grocery stores left or never arrived in the first place, the reason usually comes back to the same problem. Crime made the math impossible. When theft losses, security costs, and insurance premiums stack up faster than revenue, no corporate board is going to approve a new location. Gang violence in Fresno has historically been concentrated in the southern and western parts of the city, and those are exactly the neighborhoods that have the fewest options for buying fresh food. The people paying the highest price for crime are the ones who had the least to begin with. So when someone tells you not to stop for groceries in certain parts of Fresno, they are not being dramatic. They are being practical. Number 6, Richmond. Just north of Oakland in the East Bay, Richmond has been fighting its reputation for decades. The Iron Triangle neighborhood became nationally known for gun violence, and even though community intervention programs have made genuine progress, the city's violent crime rate remains stubbornly high. Richmond's challenges are rooted in poverty, limited economic development, and a long history of being overshadowed by its larger neighbors. Grocery options in the hardest-hit areas are thin, and the stores that remain deal with theft levels that eat into already razor-thin margins. The people who live in Richmond's toughest neighborhoods will tell you they do not shop after dark. They do not linger in parking lots, and they drive to other cities when they need to stock up for the week. That is not paranoia. That is the learned behavior of people who have adapted to their surroundings because nobody else stepped in to fix them. If you have been paying attention, you will notice these cities share something in common: poverty, understaffing, and a feedback loop where crime drives businesses out, which makes life harder for residents, which deepens the poverty that fuels more crime. But this next city takes that cycle to a different level. Number 5, San Bernardino. 60 miles east of Los Angeles, San Bernardino sprawls across 62 square miles of inland empire landscape. The city's poverty rate runs nearly 3 times the state average, and methamphetamine-related crime drives a massive share of arrests and violent incidents. San Bernardino's violent crime rate sits at roughly 14.91 incidents per 1,000 residents. That is several times higher than what you would find in most American cities. The auto theft rate alone is staggering, clocking in at nearly 100 per 1,000 residents in some reporting years, among the highest in the entire country. The police force is chronically understaffed and stretched thin across a city that is geographically enormous. Response times suffer, and when response times suffer, criminals get bolder. Grocery store robberies in San Bernardino are not just about someone walking out with unpaid merchandise. Armed holdups targeting both customers and employees have been documented repeatedly. San Bernardino County did see property crime fall nearly 15% in 2024, one of the larger county-level drops in California. But the city itself remains a place where stopping for groceries means accepting a level of risk that most Americans would find unacceptable. Number 4, Compton. Say the name Compton, and most people think of hip-hop history. NWA, Dr. Dre, the Straight Outta Compton era. But behind the cultural legacy is a city that has been struggling with gang violence for generations. Gangs, including MS-13 and numerous local sets, have a direct impact on daily commercial life in Compton. Grocery stores, gas stations, and retail shops operate under a constant awareness of territorial boundaries and the violence that can erupt when those lines get crossed. Some residents describe grocery shopping in Compton as something that requires planning around which blocks to avoid and what colors not to wear. That sounds extreme, and it is, but it is the reality for people who live there. Crime data consistently places Compton among the most dangerous cities in California, and the effect on everyday errands is exactly what you would expect. Fewer stores, higher prices, and a level of anxiety that nobody should have to feel just to buy dinner. Number 3, Stockton. Located in the northern San Joaquin Valley, Stockton has been landing on worst of lists for as long as those lists have existed. Violent crime, property crime, unemployment, poverty. Stockton checks every box. The violent crime rate hovers around 1,397 per 100,000 residents, according to FBI data, with roughly 34 murders, over 1,100 robberies, and more than 3,000 aggravated assaults reported annually. Those numbers are wildly above both the state and national averages. Stockton's violent crime rate runs more than 200% higher than the California average and over 260% higher than the rest of the country. Grocery shopping in certain Stockton neighborhoods means navigating areas where robberies happen in broad daylight, and where parking lot crime is so common it barely makes the local news anymore. The city has made efforts to reduce violence, and some programs have shown promise. But the sheer scale of the problem means progress is slow, and for residents living in the most affected areas, the daily reality has not changed much. If you thought that was bad, these last two cities are on a completely different level. Number 2, San Francisco. This might surprise people who still picture San Francisco as cable cars, sourdough bread, and the Golden Gate Bridge shrouded in fog. But the city's retail theft epidemic has rewritten the story. Whole Foods closed its flagship San Francisco store in April 2023, citing safety concerns. The store had been open for barely a year. Safeway shut down its location in the Fillmore district, a neighborhood with the same population density as New York City, partly because of ongoing threats to employees and customers. The mayor had to send extra police just to keep the store open a few more months. Shoplifting in California rose 13.8% in 2024 and is now running nearly 48% above pre-pandemic levels. San Francisco has been ground zero for that trend. Organized retail theft rings target high-value merchandise and disappear before police arrive. Smash and grab robberies have been caught on security cameras and shared millions of times on social media. When one San Francisco Target location actually started reporting all shoplifting incidents, that single store accounted for half the shoplifting reports in the entire county. Half from one store. Which tells you something about how much crime was going unreported everywhere else. The result is food deserts in one of the wealthiest cities on earth. Neighborhoods that should have thriving grocery stores instead have boarded up storefronts and residents driving across town for fresh produce. And number 1, Oakland. Oakland sits directly across the bay from San Francisco, and it holds the unenviable title of the most dangerous city in California. The combined crime rate clocks in at 91 per 1,000 residents, according to FBI data analysis, higher than virtually every community in the state. Violent crime runs roughly 287% above the national average. Property crime is 124% above the state's numbers. Residents have a 1 in 65 chance of becoming a victim of violent crime, compared to 1 in 200 at the state level. And the business exodus tells the story better than any statistic. In January 2024, In-N-Out Burger closed its only Oakland location. It was the first time in the company's 75-year history that they had ever shut down a restaurant. The reason, according to their chief operating officer, was ongoing crime. Car break-ins, property damage, theft, and armed robberies targeted both customers and employees. That same corridor on Hagenberger Road lost 2 Starbucks locations, a Subway, and a Denny's that had been there for 54 years. Target closed its Oakland store in 2023, citing safety concerns. Taco Bell suspended indoor dining at 4 locations. The list kept growing. Oakland's police department shrank from over 1,050 full-time employees in 2020 to around 940 by 2024. Fewer officers meant slower response times, which meant bolder criminals, which meant more businesses leaving, which meant fewer jobs and fewer options for the people who stayed. There is some encouraging news. Homicides in Oakland dropped 21% through late 2025. Robberies fell 42%. Property crime declined 28% in 2024. The trajectory is heading in the right direction, but the damage that has already been done, the grocery stores that already closed, the restaurants that already left, takes years to rebuild. And for the residents still living there, the daily math of where it is safe to shop has not changed as fast as the trend lines suggest. California's statewide numbers actually look decent. Violent crime dropped 6% in 2024. Property crime fell over 8%. The statewide homicide rate is near its lowest point since 1966. But statewide averages do not mean much when you are standing in a parking lot in Oakland or Stockton or San Bernardino trying to get to your car before the sun goes down. The people living in these 10 cities know that. They have adapted to it. And their advice to anyone passing through is simple. Keep driving. If this video opened your eyes, hit subscribe. Click the video on the screen to keep watching.